Welcome to another
Going,
Boba Joe
everybody.
show. Just winding up my cogs.
Joe show. I'm just moving the ratchet joints here in my bones.
The joints going. Get my thigh breast going.
I got wobbly knee syndrome. My joints are getting loose.
Yeah, I've always had wobbly knees all my life, so that's fun.
Yeah, even before my screws started getting rusty.
Yeah.
But I suffer from that too. But what are we looking at? We're looking at some good old Transformers, some change robots.
Super robot. What is it? Super robot life form something. I always forget the Japanese one.
1986. What a year.
Hell of a year.
What a year. Hell of a year. Mark Lennon was born. Aliens, Platoon, great year. Transformers the movie, fantastic.
Vasquez died.
Yeah.
But had to make room for more people coming into the world, so yeah.
Well, you know, out with the old, in with the new. We can't just dwell in the past, even though that's exactly what we're going to do today. As we look at this 1986.
Doesn't seem like the past. Every time I go to the shops, there's like something Transformers 1986 up there, and it's like enough already. Got enough of these.
Yeah, we're going to see a big clean out this year. Some beloved characters are going to be going away for a little while, not forever.
Just having a holiday.
Not even for that long. Yeah. Some of them are going to be coming back, like, you know, a few episodes right after the movie, only to be killed off again and then come back again. And it's going to be a cycle that will continue for decades. But
some will turn up who did take forever sleeps, but they turned up as just animation model reuse and backgrounds when they're not supposed to be in season 3, but they are in there.
Animation errors, you know, just showing up there.
But before we get into the year, before we get to the catalogs, I'm going to take a look at some of your lovely pictures from your collection, because there's some very nice condition G1 toys in there. And of course, it was the big year of the movie, and of course, the Scramble City combiners and Metroplex and Triptychon was like the big push of new stuff. So tell us about these guys here.
Yes, the alt modes, the vehicle modes. Oh, thank you very much. Just getting a coffee delivered to me here by my beautiful wife. Thank you, Christina.
You'll transform into Blur now.
Yeah, I actually you can actually see Blur's feast just out of this shot. I didn't get a snap of him, unfortunately. But yes, Springer, Hot Rod, and Cup. I love these guys, I have to say, and I love them in vehicle mode particularly. I just always like the kind of semi-futuristic, at least in comparison to the cars we got for the 84, 85 lineup.
Yes. And they definitely got that retro futurism vibe, or that kind of 1950s, like your big fins and swirly feminine curves on things.
Beautiful, you know, love that chrome and everything on Hot Rod as well. Yeah, but these guys, awesome. My kind of 86 Autobots are mixed in with a couple of guys from 87 and some G2 guys as well. I'm just looking over at the shelf there because people who know me probably I'm a little bit loosey-goosey with how I display my Transformers. Like, it's not uncommon to see you know, just different eras and generations mixed in together. I'm not overly strict with stuff, so yeah, you'll have weird mixes of guys on my shelves, but for the most part, my 86 Autobots are grouped together and hanging out.
Did Cup make sense to you as a kid, his vehicle mode? Like, in a country like Australia, like, oh yeah, it's a pickup truck, but in other countries are like, what the hell is this thing? Where it's not such a common vehicle.
I always got it. In fact, I'd nearly say his vehicle mode nearly makes more sense when you see it in toy form than when you see it in the movie or in the cartoon. The way it's animated in the cartoon, it's not instantly identifiable what type of vehicle he's supposed to be. Whereas in the toy, you can see straight away. Yeah, it's just it's a pickup with a kind of a more aerodynamic front than most pickups. Like, that's the only difference. Like, you know,
like all the 80s, the new characters, other than Ultra Magnus, were all designed by Floridera, who worked at a lot of the movie concept stuff, also worked on animated series like background art and model designs and that. But he does, I read some blogs years ago where a guy coined the term fluoroformers. And when you look at them, they've all kind of got, if you think of like big sumo 70s robots and combining robots, all like square and hard angles and masculine wrestlers and super. The fluoroformers have all got sexy round stripper legs and they're all feminine. Not just the girls, but the guy robots. They've all got round proportions when you look at their legs and stuff. And
Ultra Magnus. And yes, I do have I have a second hot rod that I just keep out in robot mode because I actually do like his robot mode as well.
And hot rod's a lot nicer than the actual rod. The Rodimus was a fairly awful toy.
Yeah, I keep my my Rodimus permanently in his vehicle mode because I
so you should. Happily, they made a decent one a few years ago in the the post Siege line. I mean, I've got it out the back somewhere where they finally did a decent battle trailer mode thing for him.
Prime actually in this picture is like that's pretty much my child. I've had that Prime forever. He's a real he's a mangled Prime, but it's he's appropriate for the 86 gang, I suppose, because he's going to die anyway.
Yeah, he looks like one of the ones they reissued him pretty much every year from 86 up to say 1990, but he's got a slightly darker blue and those eyes there looks like one of those they reissued him like every other year in that. And some have just slightly different tones. You can hardly tell the difference on them. But he looks really nice. The red's still really nice.
And I've always loved the fact that Ultra Magnus is just a white Optimus Prime. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. That's what I'm all about.
Did you ever, as a kid or whenever, the first time you ever handled one of those, had you seen it beforehand? Or was the first time in hand, were you looking at it going, this is real familiar, this truck?
The first time I saw an Optimus Prime, it was one belonging to a kid in school, and he didn't have the trailer with him, so I just saw the cab, and he showed me that what it was. The first time I saw an Ultra Magnus, it blew my mind because I don't know, the thought of just them doing a repainted Optimus Prime, and I saw him in his white cab mode as well, so I was just like, wow, this is cool.
The first time other than watching the movie, the first time I saw the toy was not maybe I saw the box in a store, but out of a box. It was years later, secondhand, probably like sometime in the 90s. Someone brought one over to my house who had some that were all kind of beat up. And I was playing around with it, and I was like, flipped his head, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's just Optimus Prime, but he's white. So what's going on? Because I never knew. I'd only seen there's the big robot mode and the other thing. But then finding out another 20 years later that it was bloody powered convoy, and you think, he's a repaint. And then you find out, no, Optimus was a repaint of him.
Yeah.
And it's all like backwards and weird. And the whole idea of taking the previous year's toy was, Optimus or Convoy with the trailer, and then putting in a new trailer and giving him like a super mode, basically, from your typical 70s, 80s robot manga. You have a big trailer or platform that combines and turns into a new mode. That was a very typical Japanese robot toy sort of thing, an ordinary, but not something we'd usually saw in the West. So to see that toy, the Ultra Magnus turn up years later in different colors as him in the movie and toy line was pretty cool.
I love seeing those old, you can watch them on YouTube, but there's the old Diaclone ads where you see.
Those ads are great. It's like watching Thunderbirds. It's all like pyrotechnics and backgrounds and miniatures.
A proper convoy of convoys, all these lorries going down the road. It's so cool. It's so cool. I would have loved to have seen something like that as a kid. It's way cooler than seeing a child playing with a toy like the American.
Yeah, it's all the wavy hand stuff in the American ads.
Yeah.
And the kids going, Transformers!
While their eyes turn green and electricity comes out of their mouth. Freaky stuff.
But that was the difference in the Japanese to the American ads. The American ads, it's always kids doing the play pattern. The Japanese ads, it's like almost watching like wargaming and modeling miniatures. There's no sign of any human beings. Aliens could have created these ads, as far as we know. It's just like everything's moving by itself in like stop motion or using strings like Thunderbirds or whatever.
Beautiful. I just love Ultra Magnus as well, that he's kind of you know, obviously I had 2 Ultra Magnuses, so I was able to actually have just the white Prime cab sitting out separate from the big body armor. But as a toy, he's a really cool toy. Just a really cool toy with that whole
awesome. The truck mode to me is superior than Prime. I mean, with the full trailer and everything, because you can stack one, so you can get two side swaps on the bottom and someone else on top. Or if you've got mini bots, you can fit more. You can fit, you know, it's a proper car carrier, and it has an extra mode that they didn't even tell you about in the West instructions or advertising. It has a whole other mode as well that's only in the Diaclone. You can still do it with the Western one. It's just like another fold things around weird base mode thing. But they did that quite a bit in the from the Takara to Hasbro ones. They just went, oh, don't understand this mode, don't care. Hasbro just didn't bother printing it in the instruction book.
Yeah, we'll just pretend it's not something that you can you can do.
Like it was the same with all the Scramble City combiners, like the Central robots all had an extra mode, but it wasn't obvious because they didn't advertise the connecting feature to Trypticon and Metroplex in the West.
Big boys here, Predaking, Trypticon. Yeah,
so these are the G1 combiners, I think. It's an awesome toy.
That Predaking is actually a, I think it might have been God. I've been doing this for so long. Maybe 2010. That's a reissue that came out. It's
I remember the set.
Reissue.
That Takara reissue one. Because around the same time they did the Skylynx. I've got the reissue Skylynx.
Yeah, I missed that Skylynx at the time. I should have gotten it.
I used to have the bull and the eagle or whatever he is, and he had the wings. But that's only 2 I've ever had from that. They were just like loose, beat up ones. I had them years ago. I might have, maybe I had the Rhino as well.
And Dive Bomb, I believe, are those 2 characters. One way you can tell it's the reissue straight off the bat is it comes with an extra cool looking sword. You know, it's got a kind of a modernized looking sword. But I love, man, Predaking, of those old G1 combiners, he is superior to all the other G1 combiners.
He's like, compared to the Scramble City ones, he's like 3 of those toys in one. The amount of plastic mass, he's gigantic, and he's so stable and strong. He's like the opposite and totally different design than all the earlier ones, which are very wibbly and wobbly, and they'd fall apart, and the joints weren't terribly strong, and their heads would snap off. And
I love the fact that he's like, as the individual animals, they actually scale well with the larger you know, other, like, they're not like tiny, or they're not like miniaturized vehicles or that, just because they're combiners. They actually are full-sized individual toys. I don't know, I love
that's one of the cool things about it. It's so big, and each of the individual robots, they're okay in the robot modes, but the animal modes look amazing.
Yeah, the Trypticon is relatively new to my collection. My wife got me him maybe like 3 or 4 years ago now, possibly maybe a bit longer, maybe 5 years ago. Because I never had the original, so, and I always wanted one because, like, he's, you know, Robo Godzilla, the Septizilla.
So is that the same one I got then? It's got the Velcro box for the reissue one.
Yes, yeah, beautiful box. I have to say, some of those the reissues from that era in those boxes, beautiful artwork on the boxes as well, as I recall. Yeah, really nice toy. Nice to have one with the working gimmicks, you know, batteries and everything.
Yeah, working gimmicks, the chromes there, like that little transparent plastic horn things, not snapped or faded or anything. And plus, you got the little car robot dude that goes on his chest, and
you know, I'm not precious when it comes to these reissues, as long as the reissue is good quality. I
think they're amazing quality. Like, I've got the Trypticon and the Skylynx. They're the only 2 I have of like reissue modern stuff. I mean, I've got a Soundwave, but I mean, of these big guys, and the quality is amazing. Like, if you didn't know it was a reissue, you wouldn't know it wasn't a vintage toy, other than it looks new and not faded. I mean, if there wasn't a reissue, I would assume it was a knockoff because it looks so new and shiny and beautiful, and not beat up and no rusty screws or anything.
General rule of thumb, and I think you would agree. We were kind of chatting about this before we started recording. The Takara reissues were generally of a higher quality than the American ones.
Much higher quality. I would say the plastics have a comparable quality to the original toys and that, and like I mean, just we were talking before, like this is a reissue sound wave from I don't know 2000 2010 whenever they did it, and then like Takara book issue whatever. But like I've had several that were junkers and beat up. They're okay, they're playable, but the only one I've had that's perfect. It's got all the stickers, the chrome's intact. It's got the die cast feet. Like if you get a Hasbro reissue stuff, they've got there's no die cast in anything. The plastic's often weird colors and weird mixes. The quality of them is just like really awful. A lot of the ones that they've got out, like they've got Hound, Transformers 1986 Hound, but now it's redone in that movie green, which is nice. But it costs a fortune. It costs about $70 for this tiny little toy. The plastic quality is really bad and they don't last. Whereas these Takara ones were still where they were making good quality parts and all the toys and well engineered. And they're not like this will last another 20, 30 years. Your Hasbro ones, like I have got the Walmart blaster. That's just a piece of crap. it's so bad because I've got about 4 blasters and I had a junker one from when I was a kid. I had another one picked up, a modern one I paid a bit for that was like much better condition. And that Walmart one, like every bit of color in it is off. Every color in it is completely wrong. The joints out of the box are not really tight. They're kind of loose and just shit. And it's just like really bad quality.
Yeah, some of the ones I was chatting to you about it before we went on air today. I have
and the box was
American,
warping just under its own weight because it was so thin.
I have like one of the American reissues of Soundwave, and the paint is already kind of flaking off it. It's just very poor quality stuff. Not up to
Actually, I have
snuff,
a
especially when
twin
you're
cast
paying
reissue as well, and
decent
that's really
price for it.
nice.
Yeah, I have a nice Takara twin cast reissue, but once again,
that's what I've got.
Takara, so of course it's
with one of me big Titan robots. I've got him holding with his hand like he's listening to the music.
Yeah.
But now my favorite, the big chunky boy. This is your one. I do have a beat up vintage Metroplex I got off eBay a few years back for about $100, which is a good deal because it was a vintage one. They've never reissued this guy properly. I don't know why not. It was crazy. But the chrome was still good on the face of mine. He had his hands and he had maybe a couple of the guns, but he was missing most of the accessories. Actually, he had his 2 knee pads, but all the rest of the accessories it didn't have because he comes with a lot of parts.
I'd love to get another one of these. So this is this boy isn't a reissue. He's an old school.
Oh yeah, he's original.
Original.
But they've never done a reissue, as far as I know.
I think they did. I think they did. Tara did a reissue. I think.
Actually, I got a Metro Titan knockoff about a month ago. That was quite cool.
But he's a beauty. I don't care. I don't need him to be highly articulated or anything. He just looks cool as the big.
He's one of my favorite toys ever from anything. He's such an amazing toy, and the design of it. Like I just seen pictures of the kid in the box and the cartoon. When I finally got it, even though he's a bit beat up, all his joints still worked. His parts a little bit loose, but he still stood fine. He didn't like fall over or nothing. And the design of it's just amazing. The quality. I mean, look at he's got 3 completely different modes he goes into, and you can even like do your own kind of fan modes in between too to make up different stuff. But all the bits that fold out, the little helipad, and he's got little bloody what do you call it, a little chest cavity thing with the ramp and all that stuff. It's just such an amazing, well-designed toy. And even though you don't think of it as being particularly articulated, because of the transformation, his parts move all over the place, and he can do like full splits and legs all over the place for the city modes. It's such an amazing toy.
Cool seeing him in his base mode when you've got, like, say, the protect the bot set up around him and like using his actual functions. Or see, that's the thing as well. And I'm sure, look, we've spoken about it before anytime we've ever spoken about these things, but scale and Transformers, it's multiple scales mixed in together. And as a kid, sometimes you might just, it might be a bit annoying, that your Metroplex is only a little bit taller than your Optimus Prime. There's a bit of an inaccuracy there. But if you're kind of staying within the
everything's in scale.
But if you're using the smaller combiner robots with Metroplex, he's a decent size. Like it's a pretty yeah, exactly. Yeah, aren't those little micromasters and stuff? Like, you could have some fun there. Just use your imagination a little bit, But yeah, fantastic, fantastic toy, the Chunky Boy himself. I was delighted to get that one in such good nick as well, since it is an OG.
Yeah, like the one I got off eBay wasn't too bad. Like his joints are still pretty good, and I mean it's faded and whatnot. Still had bits of some stickers on him, but I've messed about with it so much, and I just love messing around. It's such a fun toy just to get. It's almost like having a Rubik's cube or something in your hand. Every part of it moves and can rotate, and you can do full turn his waist all around. His legs go everywhere from the modes, and just an incredible toy. And incredible toy, like in hand to mess around, but awesome character and design as well.
Blur standing in front of him there is probably my fucking least favorite of those 86 bots, just because the toy is pretty cool. I should probably put him into vehicle mode because his robot mode I think is pretty jack. I can't I can't lift his arms without his like panels falling off underneath and stuff. He's just an annoying little figure to try and do anything with. He's so loose and like floppy, so I might have to stick him back in his vehicle mode and put him alongside the other ones. I think he's just purple, you know.
Another cool thing on Metro is that the head's another like early example of like Automorph. It has that little button, that little spring release or whatever, and his head like pops up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, really nice. And even just like, you know, the
jump starters or whatever.
And I know I put his little tank buddy there sitting on his shoulder to kind of give him an extra gun.
Yeah,
and you can see the little I forget his name, but he transforms into a little black sports car. You can probably see him at his feet there. He's part of his set as well.
Yeah, because he's got three, doesn't he? He's got the SYXX gun, the Scamper, and then the black car dude. I forget now, which is cool.
Yeah, cool wee set.
The little partner box. Although the other one, the SYXX gun, is like a parts former because it's like his accessories combined into a kind of janky looking robot.
That's right. Yeah, he is quite janky looking, that guy.
But it's still cool. It's just a bonus. It's very much like from the like Diaclone kind of design stuff. It's just like all these different parts that can like go together in different configurations.
Yeah, just giving a secondary use or function to something to give you that little bit more play value as a kid.
Yeah. And then he's got those ports on his arms and legs. If you want, you can plug the aerial bots in there as well.
You can do that. I have to say though, anytime I've ever seen that in pictures,
it looks stupid.
Yeah, it looks stupid. It looks like he just couldn't move or do anything.
Yeah.
I've given myself thunder ties here, you know.
Yeah, I just chucked a picture here. Was just showing off some of the combiners because we had, so 86, we had the big push of the movie, like the release of the movie itself, and then of course the movie tie-in toys. And as we know with modern movies, whether Transformers or other movies, when you have a franchise that's popular and has toys, and you crank out a big like movie which kind of bombed, but they didn't really advertise and pulled it from theaters quite fast, so kind of sabotaged it. When a movie comes out, what happens to your main toy line? You've got to like go, hang on, we've got to push these movie toys more than anything else at the moment because it's the big new thing. So as a result of that, the other big new thing being like Metroplex, Triptychon, and the combiners and the Scramble City or special teams modes, that all kind of got pushed aside, even though some of those toys had been developed in 85 because they go back to the Diaclone stuff and were repurposed into the Transformers.
Yeah, it's quite the time, 86. It's like
it's like they had too many products and too many different things all competing for attention. So it made like the bumper year, and they had to sort of trickle out some of these releases, I assume.
And I'd say there was just, you know, given what happens in the movie, you know, spoilers, but we, you know, in case you don't know by now, a lot of your favorite characters are, you know, done away with, and you know,
they're done away with. But apparently, depending on if you lived in like UK or America, they did have what were previously the previous year's toys. You know how they reissue year to year, just like Turtles, Transformers. Here's all the previous stuff. When they were pushing this movie, apparently, when they got the stuff off the shelves, you could get some of them by mail order catalog, some of the regular retail releases.
Well, I can tell you over here anyway, in the late 80s and early 90s, they were still selling 84, 85 characters. And like, you know, and they had, the labels were slightly different. The box was slightly different to what you see at the American releases, but they were there and they were being sold. But look,
and if you had bigger toy stores, some stuff would stay in there for several years for toy lines. It used to be kind of normal.
I'm guessing, maybe you would know this offhand. Do you know, was there ever any type of comparison for sales or anything done, between 86 and 85? Like, I wonder where, say, like, like like our Galvatron and
Mhm.
Rodimus Prime selling as much as an Optimus Prime or a Megatron. Like, was there ever any type of like?
I don't know character to character. I only know that like the first 2 years of Transformers, as far as I know, was their biggest profits. Just because it's like the new thing, it's a new hot thing, and kids want it, it's all exciting. But you could probably say the same of most 80s toy lines. The first and second years combined will be the biggest profit and budget for compared to anything that came after. But that's usually the typical toy cycle. But I read a random thing earlier today on Reddit where people are talking about different Transformers lines and what made money. They reckon 80 from the beginning of the toy line up to 1990, they made something like over $2 billion. It's like so actually 2.5 billion, but that was by inflation adjusted from however many million it was or whatever. And then the biggest next thing is the Bayhem movies. They've done in toy sales, not the movie itself. They've done about 2 billion over 5 or 6 years. So the G1 version had them beat by about $500 million. So only half, not a whole three. But it's their most profitable, according to the people. Someone had quoted actual like New York Times articles and other shit, like financial reports and shit. The very first years of Transformers were not only the most profitable for Transformers, but supposedly the most profitable of anything Hasbro did for that entire decade.
I do know, like, well, I don't know, but I'm guessing that a lot of kids
Because
still
oil
would have
prices were
probably thought
going
that.
down and it was getting cheaper to make toys, so they could crank out so much along with G.I. Joe and all that. And
Like, I could see though, like maybe a lot of kids not being totally impressed with the new lineup for who are supposed to be like guys, like replacing your old guys and stuff. Like, because
it's a
that
tough
Rodimus Prime,
lineup.
like,
It's a tough
yeah, it's
lineup for kids getting into it, because it's like you had these guys that are well established in the cartoon, which ran on repeats for years. For me, in New Zealand, like I can't think of any year where it wasn't repeated. All through the 80s, well into the 90s, it was getting repeats. So these guys, the season 1, season 2 were the characters you knew and sort of loved. And same as you're watching He-Man, it's like, oh, it's He-Man and She-Ra and Teela and Hordak and Skeletor. So if they all went away, it's like, here's a bunch of other dudes. There's like Man-Face and Clawtor. I'll be like, what? Who? It's like, it's got kind of how it is watching the Transformers movie. The movies are like super exciting, but then you watch it and all these characters die, and then you're watching the show next week, and I'm like, well, the repeats are on, they're all alive again, I guess. So until you're watching season 3, and then you've got the continuation of Magnus and Hot Rod and the newer guys.
designs as well are quite different stylistically. Like, if you were someone who liked realistic vehicles, say, because there were a lot of people who just
Well,
liked the
it's all
car mode.
Cybertron modes now. It's all like retro futurism
Yeah,
and curves instead of hard angles.
you're definitely not going to be tricking anybody into thinking it's a present day vehicle or anything like that. Like the
No,
Galvatron,
if you
the
saw,
Galvatron pistol mode looks ridiculous. Like, it just looks like a big, stupid
and
thing.
if you'd only seen the very first Transformers, like the whether you'd seen actual like Diaclone micro change stuff in stores, which were in America before the Transformers got rebranded. If you'd just seen these cool diecast cars that turn into okay little robots and not seen anything for years, and then you saw the Transformers movie toys, you might think it was some completely different line or even bootlegs or something else. You might think they were GoBots or some other thing because they were just so different.
Yeah, they're strikingly different. Well, certain ones are anyway. Like,
Yeah,
Galvatron, Scourge, and Cyclonus look quite different to the other Decepticons. And like we're saying, some of those Autobots, the cars are all bigger. Like, Hot Rod is bigger than, say, like Sideswipe or Sunstreaker, and like
yeah.
the cars are slightly longer, and yeah, they're just different. It's like they've like scaled everything up a little bit, as
They're
well,
bigger and they're
the size of the
rounder and they're more like, I don't know. It's like going from GI Joe figures to 6 or 7 inch figures. They're all like big and tall.
weird that Galvatron is opting just to shoot his little pistol here at Ultra Magnus instead of firing his big arm cannon, you know.
Yeah, it's fun seeing the old Galvatron toy colors in the promotional art, because that was like before he got finalized for the movie. He had all these weird colors, which, you know, they did use on the toy, but in the movie, of course, he eventually becomes like lilac and purples and that. But he also has such an odd design. His head's not quite there when you look at the toy and the artwork in that. Whereas Magnus just looks like Magnus. Like,
yeah. I totally understand why a lot of kids, and I know I brought this up when we did our Transformers the movie review, but I can totally understand why a child would definitely think, well, Ultra Magnus is clearly the new leader. If you're just going by the toys, you'd think, well,
he's literally called City Commander.
Yeah,
and if you look at some of the like early movie
Prime
posters and stuff, he also was like front and center in the way that, like, I don't know, Luke in Star Wars would be. He's like in the movie posters and such.
Yeah. He's one of the main eventers for sure.
But yeah, so this one, these couple of ones before it gets into the other catalogs, we know, like this one's one of the UK ones here that you'd often see in magazines and comics and stuff.
I love the layout, I have to say. I'd stare at this stuff for hours as a kid.
Yeah.
Lying on my bed looking at this stuff, you know.
Yeah, I'd love to have a nice glossy big magazine, like, you know, like retailer catalog, like in big full format would be really nice, because they obviously did backgrounds and lit this stuff the same way like those kind of aliens and all that, you know, they set things up nicely and photograph them quite professionally.
I'll always be appreciative of it, even if it's something simple, like, and you know, we've looked through all these, like, you know, Turtles catalogs and Toxic Crusaders, when they make the effort to actually set up something nice, whether it's like, even if it is just like, you know, a matte painting background or whatever, it definitely adds to it. I appreciate the extra little bit of effort that you're trying to get this stuff over here.
I don't know who does the best ones. Maybe Masters. Like Masters is some of the best looking, like those big wide battle scenes and all that, you know, where they had like nice backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah, we're seeing you know, it's not all new faces here, I suppose. Like we are still seeing the surviving you know, characters. But like this is the end of the, say, like the old Seeker era for the Decepticons is over, so no more Starscream, Skywarp, or Thundercracker. You know, they're replaced now with the new flying Decepticons, even though they are appearing in the promotional stuff here. Like you can see them there in the same. They're in the same category there as Decepticon planes. But then again, you know, this is a UK one. They're probably still trying to push that stock to get it sold, you know. So they probably
definitely. So they're like, oh wait, they're pushing this movie out and taking these other ones away. We better sell more of them.
Because the combiners are in an awkward spot anyway, because they're here in you know, season 2, and then they're not featured in the movie at all.
Yeah,
like
you don't get Metroplex, Tripticon, or the combiners in the movie, other than Devastator, but he goes back to season 1. So
yeah, but it's quite the lineup here. I do
the
like
Dinobots still getting pushed hard because they get to be in the movie. Well, -1 because they stuffed up and forgot to put them in there probably. And Dinobots still get pushed really hard here. And then of course when we get to G2, they get repainted several times. So they stuck around and became real favorites.
Like looking here as an adult, I can still admire the finished combiner forms of the, you know, of the combiner teams. Some of the individuals.
Yeah, I'd love to have them. I think Defensor is the best looking one overall for actual proportions and how he looks in his mode, probably followed by Bruticus. Because the other two are pretty janky.
Some of the individual robot forms, do I have to say, are terrible. Like they're literally like bricks with arms. You know, you can't even get leg articulation or that. Like,
and then like I remember as a kid seeing the catalogs thinking, oh, they look cool. And in the military modes for the Combaticons, I think they're the best team in their vehicle modes, particularly with Onslaught turning into that kind of like long truck mode and can carry 2 vehicles on the back. That makes a really cool display. But then when I had a couple as a kid, just like beta ones, I only had 2 or 3. I couldn't combine them, but I was looking at how they did combine, and because I had Onslaught, and it's like what their head plugs into here, and it scratches the hell up of all the head if it doesn't snap it off. I'm like, man, that's not the best design, plugging your head into an armor socket that scratches and damages it.
I always kind of chuckle, man, when I think of the Combaticons, because you've got one of them who's a fucking space shuttle, and I just loved it in the in that episode where they're created. Starscream's supposed to like reconstruct all these World War II old vehicles, and like some of like, you know,
It
you
was
got
a
a
World
Jeep,
War
you got a
II like single-seater plane, and then it turns into a space shuttle.
I just love it, you know. It's so funny. And yeah, but still very cool. I do love the individual vehicle modes for the Combaticons. They were a team that was knocked off, like as in proper KOs. Like even I remember in the
So
pound
many
shops
times.
over here, you could buy knockoff
At the most official reprints, and most knockoffs second only to the original Devastator, just because it's been around so long. But because they were popular, look cool. There's so many. Even now, I can walk into a toy store now and see knockoffs of like a Bruticus or something. You know, just like weird colors and the old Sunday market specials.
They'd get
and the gift sets got knocked off as well.
Yes, yeah.
If you go on eBay,
Yeah,
most of the ones on eBay are gift set knockoffs on really like $2 quality plastic.
So your basic kind of structure here as well with these combiner teams is you've got one larger leader figure, and then the rest
Motor
of the group
Master was really
limbs
cool.
are
Like his
small.
truck mode's awesome.
Yeah,
he's tiny, but he looks really cool. When you put him next to Optimus, you're like, wait a minute. They had the episode where they beat each other and they were the same size and impersonated him. But now he's like a biker master or something. He's tiny.
yeah. Yeah, you do have to get creative with your imagination with these
Yeah, I had
scale mixes we've got
I
going
had
on.
Motor Master a few years back and it mixed a lot of stuff. And I just had him, and this was like 15 years after I had the other Combaticons that I didn't have anymore, so I couldn't put them together. Plus, I didn't have the parts. But I had him for about a year or so, and he's fun. I messed around with him, really nice. And then I just gave him away to a friend randomly one day who was like the younger guy who was getting into Transformers and stuff. And I sent him a big mixed lot of stuff, including another beta Armada Unicron, because I had 2 or 3 at that point, and I sent him one of those and a bunch of things just for free. He didn't even know he was getting it. I was like, here's a big box of cool stuff.
You one new triple changer as well, Octane.
Yeah, which one is it? Sandstorm or Broadside in there? I can't even see in the bloody picture.
Sorry, yeah, the Decepticon one. I was just talking about Octane there for
Octane, yeah. Like I've had Sandstorm for when I was about age 12 or so, and had him for a long time, messed about with him, but I've never had any of the other guys. I always wanted to get Astro's Train. I always thought it looked like the coolest transformations in it.
All the Autobot triple changers are new for 86. It was their first.
I had Broadside as well for a while. I had him for a number of years, and he was pretty decent too.
Yeah, be decent, ignoring the scale, of course, because he's
Yeah, he's the funniest one of the scale because he's a bloody battleship. If you took the
teeniest, tiniest,
what is it? The USS Flag from G.I. Joe, make that turn into a robot. There you go. That'll work. That'll get the scale going.
Cool, though. I can kind of like what do they have those Decepticon planes? I suppose it's like a rocky surface. Yeah, it's pretty cool little setup they have here with some of these.
It's definitely shrunk down. I've seen like each one of those. There is other ads where each one of these images is basically like a full, at least a magazine or comic book page. Like they did, really good photography. But I don't have any of those around on hand. I've got a lot. Used to have a lot of stuff saved on my computer, deleted over the years just to make room. But here we get into the American catalogs or side A or whatever. So this is like a fold out. You can see the creases. It would fold out and then concertina and fold out again, and you would get all the. I really like the way they lay these guys out, because in the previous catalogs, you had quite a few guys, but now we've got all this extra stuff, and you're trying to cram them all in there. But the layout's really cool. It's very Tron kind of looking with this kind of red and blue lines and that going around.
Yeah, I love it. It's like
actually it's a circuit board. I'm just looking at little squares. Yeah. It's a circuit board.
Really cool. Really cool. Oh, I'm shaking my head with regret missing out on some of these. So like straight off the bat, I don't own a Skylynx. I'd love to have a Skylynx.
Yeah, I got
I
the
also
reissue, and
have
it works awesomely. It does this motorized thing and all that. And
I don't have an Omega Supreme either,
I've never
unfortunately.
had a Mega Supreme. I've almost had one a couple of times, and the prices are crazy now. But a few times, I almost got a second-hand and complete ones, and didn't quite get there. I've never had a Jetfire / bloody Macross dude either, and he's pretty awesome. Very desirable toy.
Springer is definitely a cool looking toy, I think, in all his modes. I think they kind of nailed it for him.
Is he a working helicopter or like a military helicopter? I can never kind of work it out.
Yeah, all I know is he's like a generally futuristic helicopter. You can't quite pin him down as to what his function is, you know. Whereas, Sandstorm actually does look like a proper like rescue helicopter when you see him in his chopper mode.
Yeah, his helicopter mode is really cool because I mean, I have had him. I think I still have it somewhere, but I've got a pile of stuff I'm going to give away to a friend because I don't actually collect G1 stuff. I just have my few random ones that I have that I've kept, and other junkers I've had. I don't know, over the years I've had like at least 50 different ones that are just junkers and fun to mess around with. Eventually I gave away or sold cheap because they weren't really worth keeping long term, but they were glad to own them and get to see them versus not at all.
Really just looks like a weirdo freak when you see him standing among all the other
He
mini
does.
bots. He's like this hunchback, mutants.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I've had 2 or 3 of them. He's usually missing that little window on piece on him, so it often pops off.
I love the once again see the way they have the Metroplex set up there, but they have him in his base mode, so you can actually see how the smaller
3 modes there.
bots interact with him.
Battle mode, base mode, and robot mode, and it shows off the SYXX gun from his parts formula next to him as well. And you've got in there, I can see Wheelie, and their little mini bots in there look cool.
Someone should do a KO and literally just do a oversized one, like just double them in size.
Yeah, well, I've seen some fan projects. Like, have you seen those ones online where people made one that were like 9 feet tall?
Yeah,
one was wood, and the guy made it from scratch from wood, and it transforms and works based on the toy, and that used the actual schematic of the toy. And I see another one. I think the other one was 3D printed, I assume, and again based on the same transformation. It actually transforms, but you need 2 or 3 people to do it, so it takes up a whole room. And the other coolest custom I saw was just taking a bunch of white shelves, and someone made a Metroplex head and made the shelves into their kind of like DVD storage area and put kind of arms and stuff on the side. And it's really awesome, like wall display. But I would love to have that. A big bloody like 9-10 foot tall one that person custom made is amazing.
Yeah, the guy, you'd probably find him on Instagram. He's got a page, I think, where you can see all the basically like the progress as he was making it, like carving it up and
yeah.
It's very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, when I used to be on different pages and groups, I'd follow stuff like that. And so when I saw them when they made it, I thought, what an amazing custom. Actually, there was a really big third-party one too about a year ago on Ben's Collectibles, and that one wasn't as big as the custom, but that was like at least 4 or 5 feet tall and like really heavy. I think he said he had to get his missus to help him move the thing because it was so heavy.
It's too bad Rodimus Prime looks like so lanky and gangly and dodgy in robot form, because I have to say his vehicle mode is actually beautiful.
Yeah, the vehicle mode is lovely, and at least they salvaged it with that one they did in recent years, where you finally get he looks good on all 3 modes. But it was a victim of where they'd run out of the repurposed toys from the Japanese lines, and this was the first year where they had to come up with some actual new toys, as in not just repainting Japanese toys and releasing them in America. So you had some input from some of the Hasbro as well as Takara. So we had some kind of janky looking designs compared to like years, 10, 20 years worth of Takara Tomy stuff before that.
And he's standing behind his little kind of, artillery gun thing in the trailer. He doesn't look too bad, but just when you see him away from it, it's like he just looks ridiculous. He just looks like he's got, it's like my legs just keep growing and growing and growing.
Yeah. It's that you get this design a few times, because only a few years after this we get Power Master Prime, which I have one of them, and he's mostly complete. his battle station mate looks awesome, and it's the same thing as that, just it looks 100 times better.
Yeah, so much better. Yeah, definitely. As a kid, even though obviously on screen, Rodimus is the big deal, I think I'd still be.
It's like a shampoo bottle when you see that figure, though. He's kind of, the back of him is real thin, and there's not much to him.
Yeah, just his whole proportions are wrong.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like a forced tallness, you know. Like he was captured by the Decepticons, and like they were torturing
him. Put him
him
on one of those old racks to stretch them. Stretch him, you geek.
Because the Ratgar figure looks like it's suffering from that a little bit as well. I actually never had.
Yeah, he's a weird looking one, and like he doesn't match the actual design of Ratgar too well in the movie, but it's still a pretty cool toy and has a pretty cool bike mode.
Bike mode is definitely the most.
And he's quite big. I think he's at least as big, if not bigger, than Rodimus. He's like one of those freaky big toys like Blaster, who just like way bigger than everyone else.
Yeah, Blaster's probably enjoying himself because the Autobots are gradually getting as tall as him, you know, so he's somebody he can look in the eye.
Yeah. Actually, up in the top right, hiding there, gotten quite small. You got Whirl, and I just call them Dorvac, but it's actually a Roadbusters, the Transformers. But Dorvac was the anime that they repurposed it from, because that was another one of those toys that wasn't from Takara or Tomy. It was another one they repurposed from another line, like how you know, Mega Supreme and whatever from completely different companies like Shockwave. But I just remembered I had a beta of that for a few years too, and that was a really cool design toy, and it's so much older than everything else that's on here, but the design of it and quality of the build was amazing. Even though mine was like rusty and beat up, it still was like really solid, lots of die cast, transformed really well. Totally different design than other Transformers because it wasn't made by Takara, but just the design was awesome in hand, like really fantastic toy.
I kind of feel like when you look at these catalogs are partially responsible for that weird thing that Transformers collectors do, where even though you have the toy that you can transform into either of the modes, for some reason you still want to own two of them because you want one to display robot mode.
Why
and then
do I have 3 sideways?
Yeah. I need 3 Metroplexes.
One for robot and one just for easy listening on weekends.
I tell you, it's those little brain worms, man. They just get in there in your psyche, and that's what happens.
So why have I owned 5 different blasters? Because I have reasons.
Like I need to own, you know, 4 different Skylynxes or whatever to get all these poses down.
Oh, do you ever see pictures years back? There's a guy, I don't know if it was in America or the UK, but it was some like insane guy. I've never seen a picture of him because I think he's private, but he's just got pictures of his collection. In like a 2-story home with every Transformer from the vintage line in every possible mode, including like triple changes and 6 changes.
That's crazy. I think I think you mentioned
it would have been worth well over 10, 20 grand at the time, and this was years back.
You know what? Look, if he can afford to do it, good for him.
If he can afford to do it, that's not whole home
a lot of
space. Museum.
Yeah, because that is a lot of space to display them in all those modes.
I can understand having 2 modes, but like having like 6 shot and 6 having 6 of 6 modes, like no, I don't need that. Let's flip over.
Beyond completionism.
It's on side B.
Yeah, onto my faves, the evil Decepticons, who I love and adore.
Purple and black going there.
So interesting.
Who do you reckon is the best design and worst design of like the newest stuff?
Okay, so the best design, that Sharkticon in its shark mode is probably one of the best designs.
Yeah, I was thinking of Sharkticon. And he's one of the few that actually looks like the animation of that too. He looks pretty good colors in it.
Predaking, of course, we mentioned the Predacons earlier. They're also in the.
He's amazing.
In the top tier.
He was the only one I don't have that a few years ago was still actively trying to get that. And at the time, the cheapest was like, I think it was like 200 for the reissue set, but now it's up to like, I don't know, like 500 or something like pass for the same set.
You were mentioning on the last page about, you know, Whirl and Roadbuster. They're like kind of these Deluxe and Insecticons are like them as well. They're from another line, aren't they? They're from like a
Oh
different
yeah, it's from the
company or
Beachers, I think it's called.
yeah.
And there's a whole bunch. If you look up transforming insect robots from Japan, there's a whole bunch of different lines and stuff. I mean, then and now there's different animes, and it's a very popular thing. Bugs that come up in like Pokemon and come up in other anime stuff. And
What do you think when kind of looking at the combiners? Do you think like the Devastator is superior? Like I'm just talking about the toys here. Like, do you think he's like a superior toy to like the later 85, 86
no,
combiners? Or do you
Devastator's
think
terrible. It's like he looks cool, but he's like I have owned Junker. I think I had a Junker K. I've owned some vintage ones, but not all together to combine. Years later, I had a reasonable quality bootleg, so at least I could put it all together and see how it works. And he's fairly horrible. He's really horrible. Like he breaks and pieces come apart, and even when he stands, unless you've got a really good condition one, he will just fall apart on you. I don't mean break, but just his arms will pop off and his bits will fall off everywhere. He's a very experimental combiner, and he's a combiner of 6 with no true torso, whereas all the other ones have a giant torso bot and then you just go plug on the limbs. So they're much more solid with their own hands and feet. Whereas Devastator doesn't have true feet, but he does have a very cool look to him and a uniform look in the green and purple. Plus, he's the most iconic dude from the cartoon. Like he's a badass character, and they've certainly done a lot better toys since, like third-party ones and official ones. There's so many other great versions you can get of him now if you just want a really cool toy version of Devastator. But it's impressive for the time, and it's fun seeing the old Diaclone ones and all the crazy colors original with like the orange and yellow and blue and all the weird colors they've made it in. They did a Tonka one about 2 years ago from Hasbro because they own the brand, and they put out one that was yellow like the G2 and Diaclone colors, but it was Tonka and it had Tonka Devastator. I thought that was one pretty cool release.
I think with Devastator, so I think in his
I
combined
would have them
form,
in the vehicle modes. I think are the best modes for them.
yeah, I was just about to say like his combined mode is not really great. Like yeah, like you said, it's floppy, it falls
Very
apart,
wobbly.
like just But I think the individual Constructicons are definitely better figures than the other
Yeah.
combiner small
Oh
figures.
yes,
Like
they
at
are.
least some of them like have actual articulation and you can do stuff with them. They're not like with their like I know some of them do have their feet stuck together and stuff, but for the most part they're a pretty decent bunch of figures.
Yeah, actually, if you want to go different criteria and say all 3 modes, he's actually the best. He's the best and the worst at the same time. Worst combiner, but he's the best if you want to count all 3 modes. If you made a little chart and ranked each of the 3 modes, he would add up to actually being the best.
I love seeing Tripticon in base mode here with the Stunticons making use of them.
It's the weirdest transformation too, where like his it's like if you went to the I can't think anyone explains. You went to the butcher and you're like cutting up the meat, he like slices apart, and like it's really weird transformation. Very unique and innovative.
When we were looking at that Turtles catalog last week, do you remember there's that weird micro play set with like it was like a jet or something, but it looked like Tripticon base mode, except it was like white. It just didn't look like Turtles at all.
And we didn't know if they actually released it, but then Badger found a listing or something on eBay and sent us some pictures, so it does exist.
Yeah, it does exist.
And as a kid, even though I've seen this stuff in the catalogs, I probably forgot about it, that he has a 3rd mode as well, like how Metroplex does, but it's not really clear what it is. Sometimes in like animation or comics, sometimes that 3rd mode's flying, like in space or whatever, but I'm never exactly clear what the hell it's supposed to be.
It's interesting that Starscream as a Seeker still gets his figure and the cone heads, but I suppose they don't want Thundercracker and Skywarp anymore. Maybe they knew they were bringing back Starscream as a ghost in the series, so they could still flog a few of his toys.
Yeah, we back Starscream in transparent plastic so you can shatter into pieces.
One new tape for Soundwave as well this year. Ratbat's the new tape, isn't he?
Yeah, actually, I have him. I've gone right over here. There he is. He actually sits on top of my modern Siege Soundwave because he's one of the few I've got sitting around from back that I've had this guy since at least, I don't know, 1992 or so. but he's really cool. And actually, he's got die cast too, I think. And I feel the metal plate that's metal on there.
Yeah.
I have some other cassettes out the back somewhere. Like I haven't got much Transformers on the shelf at the moment, but I have the little the one that's like it looks like a white Grimlock. Looks like a little Tyrannosaurus Rex. I got that one, and I have a really cool bootleg one. Is he up there? Oh, he's up. I think he's up there. Hang on. Oh. No, he's disappeared. I have one that's like a Rumble Frenzy bootleg. I got in a mix lot years ago. Except he's like a kind of orangish color with bits of pale blue, real weird colors. But it was actually a vintage bootleg. He's at least 30 years old. There we go.
These catalogs, yeah, that's beautiful. They almost act like a scale guide here as well. It's like keep these things, you know, within their own. Like keep all the Constructicons and Stunticons together. Keep all the planes together. They'll match up well with each other.
Yes,
categorized, cool. Assorted them here.
I love I always love the cassette. So there's such cool designs, and I was amazed to find it years later there were some other cassettes that they never released outside of Japan. There was like one. I remember thinking one day of like random things that would look cool from the same base. I thought a little bike or something, and then I found out one actually existed. They never released outside Japan. It was a little motorbike one.
And then later on, we got extra, you know, you got Overkill and those guys, like the little Stegosaurus, and the little Raptor and stuff.
And there was that one that combined. There was a combining one that two cassettes that turned into one kind of rubbish-looking robot. But there was still a cool design. But yeah, I've had Rewind and Eject too from Blaster before. Yeah. But they were kind of beat up ones where often their heads would, because of the spring pops up. Sometimes the head will stay down or not come up and all that.
Yeah, the Decepticon side of things, they're a little bit more generous maybe with some of the older characters being able to hang around.
Yeah.
It's probably because they didn't have as much new Decepticon characters to introduce. It's really just your three main boys, and I suppose you could count, you know, the sweeps as an army builder, but they didn't even do sweeps as figures, so you've only got Scourge there. You can't really do much with that. And then, of course, Sharkticon is actually marketed as a Decepticon. When you buy the toy, he's got like the Decepticon logo and stuff on the box.
Yeah, because they had to fit him into something, but in the movie, he's not part of either faction.
Yeah, and some of the old like Sears catalogs and stuff, you actually see him grouped in with the Predacons. It's like, oh, he's just the underwater Predacon.
Yeah, and you've got way over the bottom left, you've got old Buzzsaw hiding out. Because I think it became like the standard pack-in with, well, I guess it depends on where you lived. But it became the pack-in. They've definitely owned like the Laserbeak and Buzzsaw as well. Actually, the original cassettes, I think I've got all of them. So I've definitely got Rumble, Ravage, bloody Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, and then this guy, of course.
Yeah, I have a decent amount of the, I have all the 84, 85, 86 era tapes. I don't have much of the newer, like I don't have that combiner guy. I don't have the dinosaur.
Yeah, that was a lot harder to get. Like, I mean, like for anything post year 2000, they were like, you know, I don't think they sold as well. So there was probably just less of them made and all that typical thing when you try and find something vintage and like, here's something made millions of and here's something made not as many of. So it's much pricier and harder to get. Oh, the sticker still works on this guy. So that's nice. I just don't know if we'll show up on there. Not enough light. I can see it though. It's changed color. It's gone green.
Heat technology is still active, you know.
I did both methods. I was holding my thumb on it while we were talking, and then I breathed on it because both it's the heat and it still actually works.
That's another thing.
Stickers on the old double cross is long gone.
The American reissues also suck because their stickers never work for doing the heat thing. The Takara ones always work on the reissues, but the American ones never work.
I didn't know that. Interesting. Do you remember like the supposed reason why they brought out the stickers in the first place? Like
is it to distinguish it from like competitors, you know, KOs?
Yeah, because there was too many other robot products in America at the time. There was too much stuff, and not just GoBots, which people kind of knew about, but there was too many other non-Transformers robots that also transformed. So it's like real confusing market. Some of which were other also Diaclone and Microchange toys that were still sitting around on shelves when Transformers came out. So they're trying to go, yeah, no, we don't acknowledge that stuff anymore. This is the official thing. But I don't think bootlegs was such a big thing back then. I mean, they existed, but more like Japan, Asia would typically find bootlegs. In America, you wouldn't. The early years, you weren't likely to find bootlegs on shelves. But that will be another reason too, for when it got big enough that they started actually getting bootleg stuff a few years and turning up on shelves.
Yeah, there was like the early 2000s were like a golden age of bootlegs for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and some stuff they never bootleg. They did almost like some stuff. They did awesome bootleg Dinobots, which I used to have, and they had the chrome and metal and all that. But they've never reissued the Dinobots for some bloody reason. And then there's other stuff that got bootlegged to hell. But again, we've had good reissues, or they haven't done again. It's real random and weird. And I found out a few years back part of why that happened are those ones around 99, 2001 that were Chinese bootlegs, because the actual official molds from late into the 90s, some of them got sold to China to do actual official Transformers in China for like the first time, like Chinese pressed as opposed to Japanese machine, injection molded stuff. But then once they're in China, and the official ones were done, they got passed idea again to these companies that started cranking out all these bootlegs that turned off on eBay. So you can still get. I mean, I just picked up one last year at Optimus Prime, complete in box with the trailer and all that. There's some bits. Some of the parts are a bit tight and weird and slightly off, but overall they're pretty decent quality. They're much better quality than the Hasbro reissued Optimus you can buy at Walmart. They had no trailer.
Yeah, I have no issue with them at all. And you know what? If anybody who's like, I'm not even like any type of self-proclaimed expert or anything like that.
Any of the car robots were good, like bloody Lambo and Sunstreaker. They were really high quality bootlegs.
Yeah, but like if you can't tell like a bootleg from the real deal when you're looking at vintage Transformers, like you need to give your head a wobble, like because it's like you said, like if something's like looks like a brand spanking new and is like a nice shiny coat of paint and it's like never been used, like it probably is like a KO, like just
I can tell what I look on eBay anytime. I mean, eBay's rife with piracy and bootlegs, and if you want to buy a DVD on eBay outside your own country, 90% of the time it's bloody bootleg, and heaps of bootleg toys and stuff on there, and some of the sellers, the most popular sellers, are all bootleg crap on eBay. eBay does not care; they just want to make their money.
But someday, man, we could actually we could do a bit of a mix. We could do like the best bootlegs, but also like the best third party one, like unofficial releases, not bootlegs as such.
Yeah, we
but
could definitely do a bootleg show on third party shows. So much stuff. I have an excuse to talk about my fans' hobby, Overlord and Poundmaster Prime, which I've never transformed and I never will.
Yeah, we can. I definitely would be squeezing in my Unicron or whatever it is, the Zeta Toys pumpkin or whatever it's called.
Oh, you got the Zeta one. That's the best. I wanted that for years, and then they went away for a while for reasons, and then they came back again as a different name. But I never quite got one because then the prices started going up again. I was like, no, missed the boat on that one. Best Unicron they've ever made. But I'm happy with my anniversary one.
Reximus Prime, the Boba Joe mascot. He's one of my favorite unofficial ones.
he's a robot, and then he's got neon Tron synth type powers, as far as I know.
Yeah. I'm loving this purple black Decepticon circuit board as well.
So I'll have a look at some of the closer ups now. I've done the zoom in so we can actually get a decent look. Which in the catalog, so we can do a decent look at old Metro.
Yeah, I love seeing these mini bots.
These are the best play features, really, of the big ones. That the kids could actually find fun to play with. Whereas Triptychon looks really cool, not the greatest to play with the robotic walking mechanism. That's like a sit back and watch it toy, not a play with a toy.
Yeah.
Whereas Metro is more fun to actually muck around with.
And even though I do love Triptychon, but he's like his dinosaur mode is the like it's far and beyond his best mode. Whereas with Metroplex,
Yeah,
I think you
he's good
could
on all
make
three modes.
arguments for he's got a nice balance between all his modes. I think Metroplex, just a real
And
nice.
we haven't. If it's not obvious what the third mode is, it's like a rolling battle platform. I don't know if it's the right word, but because he's got his wheels underneath him, and the legs extend and the chest all folds in, and it actually rolls forwards. And it almost looks like the front part almost looks like an aircraft carrier or something. You got this big platform, and then it's rolling on wheels. And you do actually see him do it in the cartoon a couple of times as well.
Yeah, they do that. Is it like that Japanese the Scramble City episode, and you see him in his like rolling battle station mode?
Yeah. That was the weird thing in the West. We had the push of the movie toys, but at the same time we had all these city bots and combiners were kind of on the back burner because of the marketing for the movie, but eventually became really well known and very popular. But didn't appear in the movie, no Metroplex, no Triptychon. But then while in Japan, they didn't get the movie, but they got a special 20-minute anime special called Scramble City, which is the name for like special. They call it special teams in the UK and that. But all the Scramble, the Metroplex and Triptychon, both all the ramps, you can connect parts of the ramps and the base modes to the other combining robots torso, such as Hotspot, Onslaught, and etc. You can connect them to make extended ramps and extended kind of city base modes are really cool. And one time years ago, I saw a photo online. A guy, I don't know his actual name, is Burr Icy was the blog, and I talked to him for years on some forums and that. And he used to ask some random questions about stuff because he's pretty knowledgeable on Transformers. He got together. He had a pretty epic, near complete G1 collection with Japanese stuff and all sorts. And he got together with some other mates, and they did all the base modes from all of this stuff here, like all the combiners, your city bots, and a whole heap of micromasters, because they also had base modes and the same ramps can connect. And they connected all of them, and it filled up an entire living room. And it had to do this like, I don't know if they stood on a chair or a ladder or something to take the photo, like bird's eye view. And it took up a whole living room. And as far as I know, it's the only time anyone in the world has ever actually done that. They actually connected like nearly about 100 toys still together.
It's really cool. And see, and like, I am right in saying though that like they connect for a reason. Like I'm guessing it was meant to be that way, even though not everybody knows. Like it's not like put up there
it's in the
center.
Japanese manuals, but it's not in the American manuals because they dropped the feature. I mean, it's still there, but they didn't talk about it because if you're watching Transformers and Metroplex is an Autobot, why is Onslaught trying to dock with him? He's the enemy. Doesn't make sense. Yes. So as far as I know, it's for fiction reasons and marketing. Whereas in Japan, that Metroplex was a pre-Transformers design. He wasn't released until later on, but like Ultra Magnus, who was Powered Convoy, here's another Diaclone design or Diaclone and micro change. So that's why that design features had existed as documents and designs for years before they actually put all the toys and all that out. And the connectivity features, it kind of goes back to the old Diaclone stuff, how a lot of their toy releases would interact or do things with each other, or a lot of them were more the modular pull apart, put things together and you could put them into different combinations and that. So it's kind of just one of those things that goes back to Japanese toy robot design, having modular stuff be able to connect to other things.
Should have re-released Metroplex when they did the MicroMasters. Maybe just
would have made sense because he was
made sense.
He was supposed to be able to go with all those guys.
Yeah, they missed a trick there, I think. I'd forgotten about the Autobot mini cassettes as well, because Blaster had actually come in the year before, but he only got his cassettes the year
actually,
after.
I've owned all four of those Autobot ones. I've still got the steel jaw and the ram horn, and one I've got the black guy, but not the blue guy.
Yeah, no, they were cool.
And that ram horn's still the best one. Like they've done different versions of that, but they've never done a better one than that first one. They've done some pretty crappy versions of it.
We've done a really strange reissue now where you get Ramhorn and one of the Insecticons in the same pack.
Yeah, like that's weird.
The most random grouping ever. And like close-ups here of them. Yeah, I would have loved to guess that Omega Supreme. great.
I've never played with it, never touched one, but I own so many other versions of it. I think it's ridiculous. I think I've got 5 other versions.
I didn't have a Jetfire back in the day either, but then I ended up getting that, that nice, Siege Skyfire or whatever. So that's filled that
Oh
void.
yeah, I have that
want
one.
now.
I forgot I had that toy. That's actually a really nice one.
Yeah, it more than does the
And
job.
they got around the legality of it. They gave him a battle mask, but it's just a bit different, and there was no sort of issues with the legal rights and all that nonsense.
We have a couple of other newish mini bots here, apart from Wheelie, that I always forget their names though. The Australian guy who replaces Braun
Oh,
and
Outback.
Outback, yeah, that's right. How can I
Got
forget that
Cosmos in
name?
there.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, though, I do think Springer kind of nails the 3 modes deal with his triple changing.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just going by how you see him in the cartoon and how he looks in the cartoon and how the vehicle modes look in the cartoon, his toy is actually pretty accurate.
Yeah, they did really well with
Sandstorm's
him.
not a
I
bad
never
looking
had
toy.
him, but I've had Broadside and I've had Sandstorm. I think Sandstorm was my favorite just because I know I like the colors, I guess.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't tried doing like a HasLab Broadside that actually is a big ass.
Yeah. Well, they did tighten the scale. What's his name from Armada?
Tidal Wave.
Yeah. So if they wanted to, easy repaint. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly the same transformation, but if you wanted to reformat it and repaint it, I mean, they could do it.
Yeah, we're giving them ideas here, What's on the
Yeah, you
payroll
got old
has
Cosmos in there. You've got the Wham Kablammer, Power Glide, and the mini bots. And over here, we've got beautiful, beautiful Sky Links, which I don't know. I watched all the Transformers repeats a lot, and I've seen on forums and stuff I followed over there. Some people were like, "What's up with Skylinks? He's so weird." I mean, there's another one who's not actually from Transformers. He's another repurposed toy from another company and toy line, like Omega Supreme and Shockwave or Shackwave. He got repurposed, so that's why he's just weird and different. He's like a puma and a pterodactyl that combines, and he's a space shuttle, and it walks and it's motorized, but also it rolls on wheels with the same motor.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. I love the colors, and I always liked the character in the show, so I wanted one for years and years. And when I got the reissue, awesome toy. Probably not the best to play with. Probably a bit of displaying toy than playing, because you can't move the limbs without buggering up the gears of the motor. It goes, and you don't want to actually move it. They're only supposed to move in sequence, like Triptychon's legs. Probably the pterodactyl mode has got a bit of play. You can pose his legs and tail a little bit, and his neck. But all the modes I actually like. They're all kind of strange, but handling the toy in hand is like really cool toy and very weird design. But just, I don't know, it's just cool, and I just love it.
Cartoon, when he shows up in the cartoon, he's just there. Like, they don't do a
Yeah.
storyline
They don't
introduction
explain
for
it.
him.
He's
But
just there. He becomes
when
like
you
the new
watch
Omega
the
Supreme, like the transport for the
yeah,
Autobots.
when you watch those, the way at the end of some episodes they do a little blurb where they might explain a couple of characters. For Skylinks, they used to always say he was like an Autobot from the future. I think that was the explanation they gave to him, or a backstory. Like, but they never elaborate on it. They just kind of throw that
And
at
the
you.
weird thing is, they call them in the text here. It's like from and I don't know who wrote the stuff. Like someone always got paid to write the stuff. They might not have known anything about Transformers. It's like Transformers from a swooping Autobot bird. And it's like, no, he's a fucking dinosaur, man. He's like a fucking pterodactyl or a pteranodon or whatever. It's obvious anyone that knows dinosaurs.
Yeah, and definitely in his combined mode, he feels like a big, like, Apatosaurus or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
so
But yeah, it looks
don't
cool, and
know.
he's got that very NASA shuttle sort of look to him too.
Yeah, oh, he's a great, fantastic looking toy. I always wanted one. Still do want one. One of these days, I
Yeah, I got
may
that
treat
Takara
myself.
reissue. I don't know what year, but I guess similar. It was earlier than the Triptychon because that was more recent. But I guess around the time they did that Predaking or whatever. But I've got the box and everything out the back. Might even tell me on the phone. Look at it.
Protectobots looking good here. Well, the Fansor's looking good. The individual Protectobots are looking a bit dodgy,
Yeah.
as I alluded to
Yeah, I've
earlier.
got my little streetwise up on the shelf up there. I've had since this year here. So I probably got it the following year, I would think, in New Zealand.
They're another group like Bruticus that you always see a lot of KOs of that are in crazy colors.
Oh, yes.
I've seen plenty of Protectobot knockoffs
Love
over
it,
the years.
knockoffs. They're a cool little team though, and they're probably, I don't know if iconic's the right word. They're not like Devastator's an iconic character. Protectobots are like iconic for being their theme because there's so many kid shows and animes and robot shows that have like emergency vehicles that are also robots that are not Transformers. There's like a whole history of it. If you look in Japan, there's so many shows and things. It's a really popular ongoing thing, and it's more about the theme than any one character in it.
Yeah, no, they're a cool team overall. You know, like I said, I will always just moan about some of those individual robot modes just being little bricks with arms, but
Yeah.
no, I do like the Fensor. Like he's one of the
I think he has the best
combiners that I do
proportions
have.
of these early combiners, the Scramble City ones, because he's got the best kind of torso mode where the torso actually fills out from hotspot, whereas Bruticus, they hide a lot of gaps with that big chest shield. Devastator's just got two different robots that go together and there's gaps and bits everywhere. He feels like a good, solid, chonky robot with decent kind of feet and hands. And
Yeah, the guy is the motorbike guy. He's totally oversized. Groove.
yeah, Groove.
Like in
Yeah, he's
motorbike
another funny
mode,
one.
his motorbike is bigger than like an
Yeah.
ambulance and a police car. Doesn't even
Yeah,
scale with
I've
his
got the
fellow
Combiner
combiners.
Wars version of him with one of those third-party kits that fills it out and makes it look more like this, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, no, cool wee team. Got a decent look here at Whirl and
Or a Will.
Roadbuster as well.
Yeah. Will was not the best design. It's like,
No,
well, the
Road
helicopter's nice.
look
The
pretty good.
robot left a lot to the imagination.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there's
he was a bit odd looking.
Roadbuster was a repurposed one, and I forget, but I'm pretty sure Will, that's why he's with him, because he's another repurposed one from a different line as well that predates Transformers. That's not from Takara. That's why he's got very different design aesthetic. Who later became like a psychopathic character in the IDW comics, and he's kind of like a kind of a fan favorite. So we got Zoom in here. We got old Rodimus. We got Magnus, who's like Magnus to me was just like the standout sort of toy in this lot of stuff here.
Beautiful toy. I still to this day love him. And I know in the big battle armor mode, like all you can really do is move his arms, but he still looks really cool. Like
Yeah,
he
it
just
still
looks
looks awesome.
awesome.
You can do that thing Thu does. You can go do 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 do. You can do that if you want to. He's got the rubber wheels, chrome on the wheels, lots of lovely paint, cool stickers, colors, and all that, and panels and bits. He's got those lovely ratcheted arms that go up and down for the car, the trailer mode, which can go in every other direction. Then he's got that third mode, which they don't show here. It just looks like he's kind of, I don't know, kind of like you can take those extending arms and bits and kind of go and put them out, almost like you see the base of a big crane at the docks or something. Like it's kind of like four legs like this and bits going around. But it is an actual legitimate third mode that's part of the. It's not a fan mode. It's a part of the actual design, like the design document and that.
Yeah, it was just omitted from the
Yeah.
Western instructions
It's
for
weird
whatever reason.
because it's still there. There's nothing different in the toy. It's just not in the instructions, so you would never think to do it unless you were just kind of messing around with it. But I don't know. I don't know why they didn't put that in there because it doesn't. There's nothing negative about it. Like there's nothing to contradict the fictional lore of the show or anything.
I've only ever had modern releases of Perceptor. I never had the G1 working microscope one.
Yeah, I've never had him either.
Cool
And
though.
actually,
That
this
it is
is
a working microscope.
Yeah, it's pretty budget microscope, but it does work because it's from the micro change line where it was black, those colors. Although, can you notice anything different about this image here when you look at his head?
Yeah, I was thinking that he looked a bit funny there up there. All right. What I was actually kind of thinking about there,
finish all his colors.
When I'm looking at Rodimus in his vehicle mode, I'll say one thing about the vintage vehicle mode: they were able to pull off him being able to slot in without breaking the illusion of
Yeah,
the actual hot rods on his side. Whereas the Modern Kingdom one,
yeah,
as good as it is, when you transform it into vehicle mode, you can see the big gaps, you know, in between it.
Gaps.
We don't like those
There's
gaps.
nothing cooler than a space Winnebago. Get the whole family in there.
Yeah. And you know, it's not total science fiction. There was a prototype vehicle. I forget the name of it. What is
Yeah.
it, like the Bison, the Buffalo, or something like that? I can't remember the name of
Yeah.
the truck that he's based on.
I was watching like, you know, Thu, who does the Transformers stuff. I was watching his channel like last week or whenever. Some guy sent in a picture. He'd done a custom car, like a G1 hot rod, like a full size car. He got all body kit and stuff with the flames, the pipe looked amazing.
Yeah, I've
And the
seen that.
colors weren't like pearlescent. They were all like cartoony, bright toy colors. Look crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I just noticed something in the blaster. It says blaster signal saves the day. Here's a non-playing radio that broadcasts warnings to his fellow Autobot, because in the original version it was a radio and it actually worked.
Yes.
So they had to say, no, this is distinct from that other toy that had a radio in there.
It's weird though that they have mentioned that at all. You'd think they wouldn't want to draw
Yeah.
attention to that.
But maybe it's for like some, I don't know, maybe some kind of legal reasons or something to distinguish it from the other molding of
Yeah.
the toy or whatever. Who knows? But it is a very weird thing. It's like, no, don't draw attention to the other previous version that was a radio. I think it was like AM only.
Although
Then
pretty
there's
cool
that
that at
awesome
one
blue
time.
one from South America that's like both a
Yeah.
bootleg and an official toy at the same time. I think it's just called Radio Robot or whatever. I almost got one of those a few years ago, but the price wasn't quite good on eBay. I wish I got one now because it's weird. So I got old Superior on here. Pretty rubbish robot modes. Decent looking plain modes. I like the black
Yeah.
jet guy, London 5. I reckon he's like the coolest looking one.
I had a couple of the aerial bots when I was a kid, but mine were like the G2 aerial bots. They were the
Yeah,
ones that were
same. Yeah.
around.
Actually, I think I've had 2 GT ones, and at some point I had that actual number 5 one in black. And again, I don't know where I got them, secondhand or for a friend or something, just kind of vague memories. It was years later after they'd been out. You know, this is like in the 90s sometime. I was at high school by then, not in primary school. And I'd get up my old catalog and I'd go, oh, who else would I need to actually combine it? And I'd like, yeah, this guy, and I'd go, oh man, like maybe I could pick up some of these G2 ones that were still on the shelves and try and actually complete something from G1 and G2 bits. And I went, oh no, you still need the feet and the hands and the head and they didn't have any of the torso bots, so they just had the individual limbs at the shops.
Yeah, I had like an almost cannibalized or like Frankenstein's like G1, G2 Devastator who had like a mix of green and yellow limbs, but I still didn't have all the parts to do a full
Did you know about the Scramble City thing as a kid or from these catalogs? Like, would you have worked it out if you'd had combiners from different robots? Let's say it was Brutica Superior, and you're going, stuff, I don't have them, but I can get these guys to go together and turn it into something.
I think I would have worked it out, especially since some of them seem to have like,
because they have that little port that comes out of the chest,
yeah,
like the arm of
yeah,
and
it's
the
like
head for the leg, and
it was like the exact same design on so many of them. I think it'd be like having Lego. You just kind of automatically assume it's gonna work with it.
Because that was another thing they didn't really advertise. I don't think they advertised in the West, because in the Japanese one they call it Scramble City, because all the combiners could swap the limbs to any of the other robots. Because they didn't, when they originally designed, there were no factions like, you know, Autobots, Tipscons. It didn't matter. You could put whatever with whatever. So we've got the old King of the Hill here, and the Sharkdicon. I remember seeing Galvatron in a box in the store, because I think it had a big the one I saw had a big window on it, so you could actually see the toy. And I remember going, that looks like rubbish. Because I'd seen the movie and I went, that does look like Galvatron.
It looks like a fucking generator in a power station with a big orange thing.
It's really weird. Like it's a cannon, but it's like a plasma or laser cannon, and then it's on wheels. Why is it on wheels?
And notice in this, they don't even bother trying to show you the pistol mode because of how terrible it looks. Like it's just
the pistol mode is rubbish, and he's real weird looking. But this was Galvatron's early design before they got to the final versions. He went through a lot of different redesigns, both in his look and his colors, before we got to the final movie look. So, and of course, at some point you've got to send designs off to make toys months ahead of when this movie's going to be out. So that's why he looks like this. It's the same reason why Bumblebee never looks the same in the modern movies as the toys, and he's always like, they've done this concept a year before the movie came out.
He's got a lot more of the old Megatron colors in this version.
Yeah, he does. And the one cool thing about Galvatron is, as I only saw that one in the store, I went, "Oh, that looks a bit stupid." But years later, I was reading like Transformers comics, and then Transformers UK, time traveling Galvatron, aka Galvatron 2, is in those colors. So there's a genuine reason to have a Galvatron in those colors, because he's actually like a separate character from a different reality, which is cool.
Yeah, fantastic. And once again, of course, Sharkticon looks really good. Even his robot mode looks really nice, I think.
Yes.
Looks very accurate to what you see on screen.
Yeah, there's not much to improve on him to get the modern ones they did. I've got a bunch. I've got some of those third-party ones, and then Hasbro ones they're done, but they're all just coming from this design here. They did it really well. And the extra like teeth, he's got those like ghetto ging, like bling looking teeth with the eyes, and
got his grill. But it's interesting. He says,
and the tail being the weapon.
Beware the bite of No, the Sharkticon.
Yeah,
he's the.
It's funny they gave him a name, because in the movie none of them have names. They're just Sharkticons or Sharkticons. Yeah, I think and they just wanted. They never made the Elicon back then, though.
No, they didn't. They didn't. That would have been a good one to throw in as well.
Yeah, it's strange. It's weird to see some stuff that they never. Some stuff they cranked out lots of and reissued. Other things certain toys could have been redone different colors as a totally different character that was from stuff back then they haven't done. And there's just random ones you go, man, why didn't they do this one? Actually, I had a couple of those Insecticons, those other later, they call them, what do they call them? Deluxe. Yeah, but again, there's from a completely different line. I had the brown beetle dude, then the one that's green with the yellow wings, I had him. And the one on the very far left, the yellow guy, I had those just recently for a few years. They were a little bit beat up and damaged in that, but overall pretty good. And the quality was like better than most actual Transformers, because it was from a different design and all that. They were much better quality than the typical Transformers toys.
Better quality than a lot of stuff you'd find today as well.
Yeah. The weird thing is that they kept them in those colors, which I think that's the original toy colors. That's why they like that. But they never. Why didn't they do repaints into the Insecticon purple and chrome colors? And that would have made sense.
That was a strange choice stylistically. I do wonder why they.
They're very good though. They go. They're very good quality, and the designs are really cool in both modes. They actually look great.
Yeah, no, they're very cool figures, I have to say.
We got Run Amok and Runabout hiding over the side over there, and they were like kind of just a interesting gimmick, more automorph for it. I think when they're pullbacks, weren't they? And they roll forward and they flip up like the jump starters. The best thing they ever did on one of the Transformers comics, they're like spray painting the Statue of Liberty on the Marvel Comics cover, like hooligans.
And they would end up getting I actually missed out on them, but they did end up getting pretty nice releases and the kind of Siege.
Yeah, I got one of them, and I was so annoyed I couldn't get the other one, because it's like, well, I want both. I got the white one, whichever one he is. Because it's like Rumble Frenzy.
They really should have released them as a 2-pack.
2-pack. That was at a time when they weren't doing proper generation selects. They weren't doing combo packs. They were just like, here's a random toy, and it's exclusive, and you'll never see it. And then a year later, here's the one that should have been with it. You'll never see that one either.
Classical sound wave here.
Love me some triple changes. I never had any of those Decepticon ones. I always wanted the Blitzwing and the Astro Train, and I chased some of the reissues for years, and even they were super expensive and just like weird color schemes. A lot of the reissues, I didn't want them.
I love Blitzwing and Astro Train. I always thought the Octane toy looked a bit weird. It's like each of his modes seem to be just something.
Although I've got the one from Titan's Return, and it actually looks really good in the modes in that one. So they definitely found a way to kind of improve it. And I don't think the original Astro Train, I'm was pretty sure was released in the white, wasn't he? He was in the white colors, not
Yeah,
the
and
animation
my
colours.
Astro Train, yeah, my guy is white. My vintage one, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, is a white
I don't
one.
think they did the animation colored one until years later at some point when I think I redid it or whatever.
And my
Even though they
original,
shot like a mock up in the catalog.
my original Blitzwing when I got him, he was actually a lot paler than the one you see here, but now it's yellow
Yeah.
so much he's starting to tan like the one in this picture. So the plastic's like breaking down 40 years later or whatever. Yeah, nice little spread here of the
Yeah, let's
Decepticons.
do me volume button.
Make sure you got your batteries in the back there.
Yeah. Actually, I think, doesn't he have, what have he got? No, it must be, it was on Blaster. One of them had, you can see, like, it says like mic input or whatever, but then it's like covered up. Forget whether it's on Blaster where it says like mic and you can, it's like a little port, but it's like filled in.
These look great. Really appreciate.
Yeah, I like how that Soundwave had that backpack feature too, where he stores his little. I mean, it's like a battery chamber, but then it's also his weapon accessory things. Like that was a really cool feature having those in the back.
Yeah, of all the kind of, you know, if you're going for that angle or the gimmick of, oh, it could just be a modern or a, you know, an everyday item that's actually a robot. Soundwave is just the perfect example of that kind of espionage, you know, the guns or like, you know, the batteries being the guns and all that stuff. He's really well thought out and, you know, designed. He's an excellent toy.
It's got 4 different copyright stamps on this reissue. You've got this all about confusing. It's got the Hasbro brand up the top, then Takara down the bottom. Hasbro 1974, which is not the design of this toy. It's obviously something to do with Hasbro itself because this toy didn't exist back then. And then it's got 1983. And then it's got Takara 74, which again must be to do with the company, not the toy. Then it's got 85. And then it's got China as well. It's like enough bloody stamps in there. They actually look quite cool. It's got the actual proper. You won't see on the slide. You can. It's got the actual proper company logos in there. Not just the logo is in the proper font, and then the rest of the text is just like a generic text.
Interesting.
I've never noticed it before, so I've never looked that close. Because I've owned a few different Soundwaves. I've never actually looked that closely at that particular one's thing. But that's cool because it's got that old Hasbro logo that they stopped using about 20 years ago. I guess the one you'd see on the end of the cartoon and all that.
Yeah. 2 kids or whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah, what else we got here? We've got the Insecticons. Always like the Chrome. Actually, I've owned all 3 of them twice. I had some beta ones years ago, and I mean, like, you know, beat up junkers as they were, you know, damaged. And then I actually had a really nice reissue set that came in a Takara box that had 3, and they were so nice. And I kept them for a number of years. Really loved them. Some of the best looking G1s with all that cool chrome and the colors. I only moved them on when I started getting into the Siege line, and I went, well, I've got all these other Insecticons, and I'm kind of got my team going over here. I've got no chance of getting a G1 Megatron at this point. I don't see any point in keeping them because they're not really going to display with anything. So I just shuffled them on, sold them relatively cheap to another collector because they're very desirable and good quality, perfect condition. They were like a new. I got it secondhand, but the set was new in the box. Like, no, I don't think the person who had it before me ever had them on display. They just stayed in that box.
I love those G1 Insecticons, and they did do, I have to say, they did very nice modern versions of them in the Legacy line as well.
Yeah, like I've still got up here the let's see, I've got these guys. I've still got both previous lots. I've still got the old Combiner Wars ones over here, and then the most recent post Siege ones as well. So the robot mode's got a lot bigger, really nice. And I thought, well, these guys still good to have as extra bugs in the bug mode and put them on next to them or on the wall or whatever. Because remember, they could always clone themselves in the show.
That's right. They're perfect for army building. Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect army
building. The only
thing
they stuffed up on this one, actually, like, see the Combiner Wars has got the yellow tint. This one, there's no yellow tint. It's just clear.
Yeah,
so
just clear.
It's a bit rubbish.
Cutting those costs.
I've got me little front of them, I've got a whole bunch of 3D printed Energon cubes.
Oh, nice. I think actually some of the those reissue packs with the Insecticons actually came with little Energon cubes for them to nibble on.
I've never had those ones. Like those ones, a guy who lives in the state he was just mucking about printing things with his 3D printer, like testing it. And they weren't even meant to be Energon cubes. They were just literally a test of a 3D print. And when I saw it, I went, that looks like an Energon cube. Can you do me some more of those? So I'm like, how much do you want? I'm like, I don't know, 50. So now I've got about 50 of them. I've only got 10 up there, but I've got a whole pile of them in a container out the back. I actually made, one time I got a little Rumble Frenzy figure, and I had so many, I was using them like blocks, and I built them up like a little chair for him to sit on with a back and arms, and had him sitting in an Energon cube chair.
You're stocking up in them just in case there's another Cybertronian civil war.
Yes. Well, those Insecticons
sell them to the highest bidder.
The bloody things.
Yeah, feeding them to your Trypticon. He's a hungry boy, a hangry boy.
Yeah, well, actually, if I have got the Titan ones, if I want, I could actually, I have actually fed them. Those cute, they fit, they do go in there. The old trippers.
Great.
Got that little. I like in the modern one how they started doing the they took the little mini bots that come with them and turn them into full proper transforming robots and stuff. Was cool.
They scale well with those little combiner vehicles as well.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I love this little amber crest that like flips up. It's like a kind of horn, but it's like transparent. But it's got little like circuit board kind of detail panels and it look awesome.
Oh, great toy. He really is. And just, yeah, I just love his battle platform modes. And
I want to transform it, but I'm not going to, because it's a reissue, and I just want it to stay in perfect best condition possible, so it can always look good. I just thought if I do it a couple of times and if it goes a bit floppy and doesn't go together, I'm going to be really annoyed.
It's even just to keep it, like, because he automatically, you double or triple the amount of space you've taken up when you have him kind of flattened out like that. So it's a space issue.
If I ever came across a junker that was cheap, I would mess about with that so that I could just like see the modes properly firsthand, you know.
Yeah.
But I've messed about with my Metroplex a lot. It's like, so kind of, you know, you get the idea. Get the idea of it.
Yeah, it's usually when I'm cleaning the shelves, anytime I'm going to do something like that, it's usually when I'm cleaning, because I'm only doing it temporarily and they're going to be going back up the way they came off anyway. So I might do a bit of messing around with the modes.
You know, when you get Metroplex, how like when it's a robot mode, you can flip that helicopter thing, that you can flip it over like that, and that's part of the transformation, and it becomes twice as wide. That's so strong. I put a G1 blaster on his shoulder, like he's holding it like this. I left it on there for 6 months. And it was fine. It didn't tip over or nothing. That's
testing the limit hinges. Plastic. Yeah. Passing that test with flying colors.
That was like the ultimate boombox to ear. He could hold it. It's almost as big as him. But yeah, I love these catalogs and the design, like the logo, that like airbrushed. It's like that old WWF logo and the Transformers album. My two favorite 80s logos, that cool airbrushed, very European sort of style. Very cool. And then back here we get the old checklist, and we're up to like about at least 60 toys or something by this point. There's quite a few on there, possibly more than that. I can't read the text, but yeah, we get up to a lot of toys by now.
And it's just going to keep going for the next few years. They're going to be smashing out, and it's going to get more and more gimmicky. Like the gimmicks, even though we're seeing a couple of gimmicks here, we haven't gotten into crazy, you know, pretenders and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretenders, Micromasters. Once you get into the Micromasters era, they're so small and there's so many. There's like hundreds. It's just like you've like doubled and tripled how many toys there is pretty quick.
Yeah, 86. It was definitely just it's a kind of an interesting kind of nexus point in the series, and we've got this kind of crossover, you know. Old Trips there chilling out in the background.
Yeah, but that's the one that's next to me right now. That's like that camera's on top of it. It seems like a stupid use of a Tripticon. But one day I was reorganizing my desk, and This camera won't, when I switched up my other camera, it won't fit well on this monitor at all. I tried to get it so I could reach it and adjust it, and I went, what have I got? And I also wanted to try and get this guy out because he'd been in a box. I'd never had him out. I went, I've got nowhere in the room he could fit properly. And I put him on there and he stayed there ever since. But the camera didn't used to be on his head. He was just on the desk at first.
That's just his job now, you know, cameraman.
Yeah. But he does a very good job. And you can also see me, this guy who's sitting down there.
Yeah, he's sitting there in that picture as well. And of course, Mean Gene on the call.
Yeah, Mean Gene. He's
ready
busy
to announce.
interviewing everyone. Exclusive interviews, Autobots, Turtles, Tommy Robots. That guy's sitting over there. He's made by Tommy, the real Tommy, not Takara Tommy before they got taken over. He's made by the real Tommy.
Tommy.
I've had him since I was a kid.
He's cool.
You just take 3 old batteries in there, and he's got the wheel. Doesn't work anymore, but you'd roll around. It'd roll around like this, and it's got a sound sensor in this tail thing. He'd make it like a clapping noise, and he'd stop and he'd go like this, and then he'd rotate like this, and then he'd take off again. And it's got like a bump sensor too. He would bump into things on the old kitchen floor, and then he'd turn around and start going somewhere else. They're really cool designs. Cool. They used to have all those Pizza Hut tie-ins with the big one that would have the tray and have the ad coming in giving the kid a can of Coca-Cola and pizza or whatever it was.
An old trip.
But yeah, that brings us to the end of Transformers 1986. It was a world transformed. Has your day been transformed, Mark? Has your whole world been transformed?
Certainly has. Certainly has. I did enjoy going back to 86 and looking at what was out, and
a big year.
Quite the year. Quite the year.
Possibly the biggest year for like new stuff, and I mean probably bigger profits overall in the combined previous 2 years. But in terms of just like the market, the media, the movie, it's everywhere. You know, possibly their biggest kind of like apex before they go down again. And it obviously went for a number of more years, but you know, never quite as big after those first few years.
I'm sure. Look, we will touch on the 87s and 88s or anything we can get our hands on. Do we know yet what's on the cards for next week's show?
I don't have a definite plan. I've got several plates spinning, so we'll kind of finalize the next couple of days what we're going to do, because this kind of end of this block of stuff, and we'll kick off into some other things. I do want to do some more toy related shows. We might do I've got a couple of different topics, but like we'll definitely do another one looking at some more wrestling figures, because they've both got a few more wrestling figures since the previous show was over a year ago, I think. So that'll be a cool, easy one. Like to do some Galoob toys, which I don't know a whole lot about. I mean, I've been alive when stuff was on the shelves. I remember seeing advertisements of things and whatnot. But our mate Jesse Epic Badger is the specialist. He's got the inside commentary on the Galoob and catalog. So I thought there'd be another cool series to kind of kick off with. We could do some specials with him. Micro play sets of the 90s is a themed special that I would like to do sometime in the next couple of months again with him, because he's like the expert on those. But I've got to re-educate myself and jog the memory from stuff I've seen on the shelves but didn't really own. I mean, my younger sister had some Polly Pocket. I remember seeing Mighty Max on the shelves and other sets, but didn't have myself. But yeah, we've got a few different things. There's plenty of topics anyhow. There's no shortage of them.
Don't worry. No danger of this show getting cancelled, folks. Network is still very happy. Still delighted with the ratings. They're delighted with the merchandise sales. It's all up here on Boba Joe Corp.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in, folks. Leave us a comment. Did you have a favorite Transformer from this year? A toy you had, or a toy you really wish you had? Let us know.
Let us know, and let us know if you liked any of the modern versions of some of these characters we spoke about. Maybe you weren't too fussed on
awful lot of.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much done on it. There's must be nearly 100 of the bastards.
And I know, look, Transformers, they can be clunky, they can be fragile, these old toys, but I'll always love them. I'll always have a real.
This one's actually lasted pretty well. He's constructed very well. Oh, his sticker is still there. It's on the back of his wing.
Well, as fragile as some of them are,
Hmm.
I can show you probably some examples of some modern Hasbro stuff that's equally as fragile, if not
Oh
more.
yeah.
So
This guy's finally yellowing after like more than 30 years, but only on his front legs. His back legs are fine. The top of his hand bits and his head's fine, but also it's Australian sun where it's all the time here in the bloody windows. Before I lived in New Zealand, no yellowing. It was fine.
yeah, that
But yeah,
Australian sun, you just can't trust it.
I destroys everything. Like I've got the what have I got? Oh, that knockoff Weijiang MP10 Prime in the white Magnus colors. That was on my desk for a couple of years. Very yellow now.
How he's like
But yeah,
lemon
until
prime.
yeah, yeah. Until next week, we'll go. I'll leave that with you.
Take care, folks. Enjoy
So
yourselves.
yeah.